Hi everyone, welcome to Cardiff Pottery Workshops. Obviously in these unsettling times we thought we'd do some little videos so at home people can carry on doing their work, or if they want to learn a new skill. So what we've decided to do is set up some little projects that can be done from home with very little kit. And what we're also going to do is have a little box that can be collected from the front area of our studio, which won't be in any contact with anybody else, and you can just buy online and you can come, pop in, collect your box, and then when you're ready you can then drop it off back into the studio, and we can fire and glaze the work for you. But there'll be more information online with regards to that. But so here we are. So I feel like James Dean having to do things on the video, so I'm going to show you what we need to make a small milk jug. Okay, so as you see, the tools that you need are very little. I've got some leaves and some bits and bobs from outside, a rolling pin. If you don't have a rolling pin, you can use a bottle of an empty bottle of wine with some newspaper around it. I've got this, so this is a bit like you can use a credit card, a knife, it doesn't have to be a pottery knife, a sponge, you could always cut a bit of sponge off your sponge upstairs or one you've got in the cupboard, and a little pot of water. Okay, so I'm going to move these to the side. So when you pop to the studio to collect your box, this is what you'll find. You'll find this box in the front area of the studio with your name on it. Okay, so that's your box. And on the box here, it'll have the customer's name, their address, the date of the order, and the order number. Now the order number is quite important because say you're order 1, you need to mark that on the bottom of your work. Okay. So when we open the box, inside we have our clay, a small tool, and most importantly, our template. Okay. So, on to the more exciting part. Wrap your clay. Now this clay is too wet to handle with, so we've got to get it into a right consistency, ready to hand build. Now you'll notice there's 2 bits of clay here. This piece of clay is for the main body of your jug. This piece of clay is for the base and for the handle. Okay, so we're going to put this one to the side and we're going to wedge this up. Now, there's a few different ways of wedging. I do bull wedging, so I flick up, I push through, flick up, push through. So get a rock on it first, flick up, push through, up and through. If you struggle with that, just bang it on the thing. And what you'll see is the water's coming out onto the table. So when you're at home, what you might want to do is just either get a piece of board or wood, put that on the table, or some newspaper. You can't do this on a plastic or sticky surface, okay? It has to be done either on a piece of wood or some newspaper, okay? So I've wedged that up a bit, I've took the water out. So what we do is we always work back to the block. With anything we do in pottery, we always work back to the block. Okay, so this is the shape that I'm going to make. So I've got to roll this out to get this shape. Okay, so the way that we do that is using our hands. Press down, turn over. Now be aware when you start the shape that you want. I always keep my template quite close, and then I can see that I'm coming towards the kind of shape that I need. So how thick does this need to be? In your pack, you'll find a little stick and it's got a marker on it, and that is the thickness we're going to do it. I'll show you now. So what we're going to do, hold at the top very gently lay down. So all of these techniques techniques have been slightly adapted so you can work from home. So this is pretty much getting there now. You notice I keep turning it round. I'm doing that to keep it square. Okay, so I'm going to take my stick, I'm going to hold it next to the edge, and that there meets this line. So I know that this is the perfect thickness, okay? So I'm going to take my credit card or piece of plastic, and what I'm going to do is compress the clay, okay? So the platelets in the clay now are all muddled up like this. So what we've got to do is compress them so they sit correctly, so hopefully it'll stop it from cracking. So we compress one way, but most importantly, we must turn the clay and compress the other way. If you don't do that, you're more likely to have a crack. So I'm going to turn again. One more time. So I've compressed this like that and again like that, okay? Now whatever you do when you're slab building, you mustn't fold the clay, okay? Never fold the clay. If you make a mistake and you want to start again, you need to wedge the whole thing back up and start again. Don't just fold the corner over and press it down, because what you'll do is, in that fold, you'll trap the clay. Okay, so there's my piece of clay. So I'm going to take my template, I'm going to place it on, and you can use this. I'm just going to mark around. Now most people have a knife at home that they can use, but if you haven't, you can use this stick, mark around, lift the template off. Now at this stage, I'm not cutting, I'm only marking it out, okay? So what I've done is I've went outside and I've just kind of tried to find things from around. So you pop into the garden, find some bits and bobs, or you could use a pen top, you know, marks for things around the house, okay? So I'm just gonna lay these on. So using your rolling pin or your bottle that you've got, all you need to do is just roll this into the clay, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel this then off. So what you're left with is this, okay? So what I have to do now is I have to cut out. Another way of doing this is you could use your knife or other ways of making marks. Do some other examples. When you make a mark, make sure that it doesn't go through more than half the thickness of the clay, because when you put your mark through, if it's more than half, when you bend it, the likelihood is it'll crack. So the mark only goes less than half. Okay. All right, so I've made my little marks on there, and I've also marked it out. So this has took me probably, what, 3 minutes? In a class, when we were doing this would be a good half an hour, okay? So you've got to remember, I've made these kind of things hundreds and hundreds of times, okay? So take your template, And the reason why we only mark out at the first stage is because when you put your marks on, it's going to move the clay. So now we put the template back on and then we cut out. Template on, and you'll see now that it's moved, okay? The template is much smaller than the final thing. So take your knife, always a slice, never a saw. So slice, don't saw at the clay. And always cut towards yourself. We're always taught to cut away. When you're working with clay, you must always cut towards yourself. So be very careful. Okay, so take your pieces off. Now if there's a piece that's big enough, you can put that to one side because that can be your base. Okay, so take the template off. Put that to one side. So we're left now with our jug. Always put your clay back together in one pile and then it'll keep it wet and then you might be able to make some more things. Okay, take your template, turn him over now, your piece. So what we've got to do now is these two edges, you'll see marked on here, bevel edge at 45 degrees. So the two edges must be beveled. If you join a piece of clay together and the edges are like this, it's going to splay open. So we bevel them so they knit together. So your pattern must be touching the table. Take your knife and we're just going to run the knife down at this angle, straight line all the way down. One side. Now I'll find it easier if you turn it. Two sides. So we're at the point of joining now. So if you have two pieces of clay, if you join them together like this, they look like they're joined, but what's going to happen is that's going to dry and these are going to fall apart. So we need to apply a method which is called scratch and slip. So we would scratch here, a little dab of water, attach, and then that'll join them, okay? When you're slab building, you only ever use water to join, okay? Do not smear your work in water. It feels amazing, but it'll end in tears. It'll be a disaster, okay? So take your knife or your implement that you're using at home. Just scratch those two edges. A little dab of water, and that's just water. I haven't made a slip. We're going to lift this edge over and very gently dab together. I'm going to take my template, I'm going to lift it up, and I'm going to lift it onto the template. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is just set the inside so it's a little bit rounder. Use your stick. Okay, so what I've got to do now is pull the join in. So to pull in, what you must do is pull against the finger with the tool all the way. And then I'm going to make a little sausage. And this is going to be fed all the way along. And this will then allow us to fill the gap. Quite hard for me to do this because I want you to see it as I'm doing it, and usually I would always turn it towards myself. So don't worry too much about this edge because the handle will hide this. Okay. So what we've got to do, take our spare piece of clay, place the little jug on the clay, and what we're going to do is we're going to mark round. We're not cutting it, we're just marking around. Then we're going to scratch on the inside of the line. And very gently we're going to scratch on the bottom of the jug. Dab of water, place on. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to cut flush all the way around. And then we're going to pull up all the way around. And then same again, take a little piece of clay. Feed that into the gap. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the little handle. Take a piece of clay, to a sausage, to a point, and we're going to roll this to a point. Take your knife, cut it at an angle this way, down, cut, okay. So what I'm going to do is just put some little marks on mine. I'm going to take my stick, so there's my handle. I'll do it on this side as well. So what I've got to do is I've got to scratch this here. And scratch on the inside here. Dab of water, scratch up, and then I'm going to place it on the inside edge here. And then come around. Scratch here. All this now must be pulled in. A little sausage of clay. On here, and what that will do is just strengthen up the top of the handle, and then using your tool you have to pull this in so it's neat. Don't worry, I'll show you this side now. Smooth. Now don't worry so much about that because we're going to cover these now. I've got a pen top here, so I'm going to make 4 little balls, all the same size. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the pen top, I'm just going to make a mark. So now I'm going to scratch the back of this, scratch here, and touch. This just kind of hides the join and just adds a little something as well. Okay, so we're at the stage now where we can kind of tidy this up a little bit. So with a wet finger, I'll run it around the bottom. Just clean that bottom edge. Not too wet, don't smear it, just a damp finger. Same by the handle. Same here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a sponge, I'm going to squeeze it right out so there's no water in it. And then I'm just going to smooth these top edges. And holding my hand like this, I'm going to sponge over my hand. Sponge over the hand. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take my hand and wet my 2 fingers, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up into the hand. Very gentle technique. And then all I'm going to do is push this top edge over, get it the exact shape that I want it. So my sponge isn't wet, that's the key thing. If it's wet, it's going to be a disaster. It's just damp. So in the pack, you should have enough clay to make 2 jugs. Okay, so the aim of the game is to make 2 of these little milk jugs. Okay. Take all your bits of clay back up. And then you would wedge it up. And then into a bowl. And then you've got enough clay to do your 2nd jug. I won't run through all that because I've already shown you how to do it. So, what's important now is I'm number 1 on my box. So I'm going to mark number 1 and my initials, KC. Okay? And then that then goes in the box with your other jug, newspaper packed around it. Most important of all, guys, show you. Put this bag inside the box, then your jug goes in, newspaper round, pack it round, and cover this over. Because what we don't want to do is transport things dry, okay? If there's a knock, it's going to break. If we transport it, keep it wet, we do all the drying here. So now what would happen is you would bring it back, you would leave it in the front area, we'll collect it, it'll be fired, and it'll also be glazed. But we'll go through all that. So we're going to do 2 adult projects, and we'll do 2 children's projects. So keep your eyes peeled. I hope you've enjoyed me watching me do that little jug there. If you've never done any pottery before, this is a great little project just to have a go. All right, thanks again. Bye.